Hi guys, hello and welcome to another C# programming tutorial. In this tutorial, we will learn how you can work with loops in C#. Well, there are three kinds of loops in C#: while, do while, and for. While loop and for loop are precondition loop. That means it checks the condition before you enter the body of the loop. And do while is a postcondition loop, which it checks the condition towards the end of the body of the loop. Do while is more efficient than the other two because it makes one less checks compared to the other two. Anyway, I want to do a very simple program with you, and it's going to be a count control loop. That means we will know exactly how many times the loop will run, as opposed to an event control loop in which we do not know the number of times the loop will run. However, we know that the loop will end. So for this example, I want to print the numbers 1 through 10 using the while loop. Then I will change the program for the for loop, and then we're going to change the program for the do while loop. So now to get started, I would like to, after I declare my initial point for the loop, which is a starting value of 1, I will now put in my ending condition for the while loop, which is as long as num is less than equals to 10. So there are two things, very important things in a loop. One is the starting point and the other one is the ending point. And the third very important thing is how you will go from start to end. That means you have to keep incrementing the counter by 1 in each cycle, which is called iteration of the loop, so that you can eventually end the loop. Now this statement can be written in three different ways. You could write it as num plus plus, you could write it as plus plus num, or you could also write it as num plus equals to 1. In all three cases, it will do exactly the same job as it is currently doing, num equals to num plus 1. What else I want to do? Every time the loop runs, I would like to write on the screen the current value of num followed by a space. And let's check and test this program. And as I run this program, you will see that it prints numbers 1 through 10 separated by space on the same line. I can go to the properties, increase the font size. Okay. Now, let me change this loop to a do while loop. It's a very easy fix. All you do is you grab the while condition, okay? You push it towards the closing, and you put the word do at the beginning. The biggest advantage is that when you enter the loop the first time, you don't make any checks. By the time you make your first check, you're already on the second value of the number. So the first value of the number never gets checked. That means you have to make one less pass in this approach compared to the while loop. That's the only change you will make, and you get the exact same output. No difference. Okay? Now, let me change things around for loop. One of the things with the for loop is that you can put everything in the same place. So I could push my initialization, my ending condition, and my increment all in the same place. And I can just simply drop all this. Okay. I know in this program I only have one line in the for loop. That means I don't necessarily need to have a curly brace around the right, but I'll still keep it there. And let me run this so that you can see that it will generate exactly the same output. So now that you see the while, the do while, and the for loop. Now let me change this back to the previous form, which was the do while loop. So this is how the do while loop looked like before we made the change. Now you can also eliminate line number 18 by simply making this num plus plus. What does that mean? That means first display the current value of num, then increment the value by 1. So the value that will be on the screen will be the current value, let's say in the first cycle 1, and then it will become 2. So that way you will save yourself from having to write an extra additional instruction. So as I run this program, you will see that you get exact same output. And you can do exactly the same thing with the while loop, no difference. What else I want to do in this program is, I would like to separate all values by comma. Okay. Now when I run this program, you will see that all values are comma separated. And I also have a comma after the last value. I want all values to be comma separated but the last one. Now there are multiple ways to do this. One way to do this would be that you end the loop on the last value that you want to print by removing the equals to. So the loop will terminate when the num becomes 10, and then you write the terminating value outside of the loop. That way you will not have a comma after the last value. And now it prints all values from 1 through 10. Okay, so there are other ways to do the same thing as well, but I'm just giving you one example of how you can do this. So in this tutorial, we pretty much went over how you can work with do-while loop, how you can work with while loop, how you can work with for loop. In the next tutorial, we will work with nested loops as to how you can nest loops inside each other. And nested loops are very much like nested if conditions, that if the outside condition is false, you cannot visit the inside loop. I'll catch you in the next tutorial where we'll learn about the next nested loops. However, keep one thing in mind about the nested loops, that both loops do not have to be of the same type. You could very well have a for loop outside and do while loop inside, or while loop outside and for loop inside, or you can make both loops of the same type. And also there is no limit to the number of nestings that you can do. You can do 2, 3, 4 nestings, however many nestings that you want to do. Just remember one thing, that in order for you to visit the inside loop, the inner loop, the outer loop must be true. So if you have 3 layers of nestings and the first layer is true, the second layer is true, only then you can visit the third layer. Now visiting the third layer not necessarily mean they're going to run. It totally depends on if this condition is true for the third one, then it will going to run. Anyway, in the next tutorial, when we talk about nested for loops, is when we're going to be discussing in detail the nested for loop, so or nested loops. So I'll see you in the next tutorial. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and write in the comment box below if you want me to make tutorial on certain subjects. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.